Hey, I've got to make a video here today to replace a video that I deleted earlier, and a lot of people are asking me, wait, what happened to that video? Well, I made a video about how Dan Crenshaw is a lying piece of shit, and in my rant, my point was he's a lying piece of shit, and he's supporting red flag laws and the TAPS Act, I believe it is, and that no one should trust him. But I went off on a little rant about salaries and how I made this video about how, oh, they don't get a pension for life just from being in the Senate for 1 year. They're just like everybody else, and they don't suck money out of the government, blah, blah, blah. And I went into a rant about that, and instead of looking at my notes, I just started babbling and didn't say some things correctly, or at least didn't say them clearly. Some of the things I just wrong about, and some of the things I just wasn't clear about. And I was like, he's a fucking liar, because I said, when you say something misleading to make people think that you're not getting anything when you are, that's the same as just lying. Or when you try to make someone believe something isn't true that is, or that is true that isn't, that's the same as lying, even if you're just being manipulative. And what he was doing in that comment, in this video, he was being manipulative. He made it sound like, oh, I went down, filled out some paperwork, and asked them if I get money for life, and they laughed at me, which for one, that's fucking bullshit. He never went down and filled out any paperwork. At best, his staff brought it up to him and had him fill it out. But two, they do take big retirements. Now, a lot of people don't seem to understand retirements are, when you say for life, that means once you retire, not from the day you quit. A lot of people thought I was saying, well, from the day they quit the Senate, they get that money for the rest of their life. No, you got to be retirement age. Well, unless you meet some other criteria, you got to be retirement age. But today I want to do this video and make it a little clearer. First off, I still want to make it clear, Dan Crenshaw is a dishonest piece of shit. He supports red flag laws, which are a threat to our safety, a threat to our freedom. There is nothing more insidious, in my opinion, than crafting laws that give the powers that be the right to violate your due process, to punish you first and then give you due process. Because once you're punished, even if you get due process, you've still been punished. And once you're punished, the chance that you'll actually get due process, pretty bad. So Dan Crenshaw, like I said, piece of shit, shouldn't trust him. He's been called out by a lot of people. I know I'm not the first one, but I know some people still lick his fucking boots. Some people, he was 2 weeks in Congress and people were like, he should be president. And I'm like, well, we don't even know who he is yet. And I made all that point in the first video, but then I went on about the pensions, and that's what I mainly want to correct right here. I'm not saying they get $140,000 a year, from the time they leave office for the rest of their life. If I said that, then I was absolutely wrong. What I was saying is he was so full of shit because he says, oh, we don't get money the rest of our lives. That whole salaries for life thing, it's bullshit. No, it isn't. They still get huge pension plans. Now, my biggest point I was trying to make during the whole thing that I did not do a very good job of was that they go in poor, they come out rich. So whose money do you think they're taking while they're in there? They're sucking money away from us. And they tried to make it look like we were trying to save the country money by limiting presidential expenses. And that's not what they were doing. They were saving money, but they were cutting it out of the pockets of people who work for a living. Their staff, people who man the libraries, etc. Those are the people who are going to get cut, not the actual salaries of the presidents. So they were hurting working people, not themselves. They weren't taking anything away from themselves, wouldn't be taking anything away from Obama. George W. Bush is the #1 money taker, not overall money. He just takes the most on average per year. Now, Obama right now is above him, but Obama just retired. So all those initial expenses of his library, etc., are still in the money he's taken out of the government. Once he's been retired as long as Bush, if he does stuff at the same rate he's doing it now, he'll be way below Bush. Bush is #1 at $1.1 million. The one who takes the least is Jimmy Carter at like $470,000 or something like that. So, although I don't really know what matters, who takes the most. But like I said, that's not what I want to get on right now. What I want to talk about is how what I was upset about is how he was pretending like we're just like every other employee and just every other government employee. Neither of those are correct. He's a lying sack of shit. The average government employee has to work 20 years to make an average pension of $17,000. 20 years for $17,000. And they actually have to work 5 days a week for 20 years. 52 weeks a year, minus vacation. So I guess 50 weeks a year, maybe 48. They get a lot of vacation. So let's say 45 weeks a year. They have to work. Congress works next to nothing. They very seldomly do anything. They spend more time trying to get more money for themselves than they do actually working. And if they do this for just 5 years, they're fully vested, which means they own everything in their account. So if a congressman serves 5 years. Once they turn 62, they get a full retirement. And it's not just like any other government workers. Because any other government worker that worked 5 years, or you and I that worked 5 years at a job, we would get very little. In fact, for those of us that work 20 years, the average pension in the U.S. is only like $9,000. It's like $9,500. That's the average pension for you and me after 20 years. After 5 years, their average pension, and I'm looking at my notes again now because I wasn't paying much attention to them the first time at all. I wasn't paying any attention to them. The average pension for a 5-year congressman once they turn 62 years old is over $20,000 based on what they make now. Does that sound like everybody else? No, it's not like everybody else. Plus, they also get their other stuff on top of it. All the monies that they've made while they're in the office, all the investments that they made while they were in office that are shielded, and all this other shit that they get. So they get rich while they're in office. So trying to pretend they're like everybody else, no. If a congressman works 20 years, which the average is, I think it's 10 to 12 years is the average for them. Don't quote me on that one, but that's what I read last time I read it, I think. If they work 20 years, well, they can retire at 50. So they don't even have to wait till 62. Now, for us, it's usually 67 for people our age to get our pensions, but they get theirs at 62 if they only work 5 years. If they work 20 years, they get it at 50. So it means if they come in at the age of 25, which is the lowest age you can come in at 50, they get their retirement if they work till they're 45. Now, if they do work 20 years, their average their average pension is going to be over $50,000 a year. Now, I know some people may try to sound like, oh, it's like $17,000. No, it's like $50,000 a year based on current numbers. That's for working 20 years. And that's a lot more. When you look at the average for the government worker is $17,000. The average for you and me is $9,000. So where is $50,000? Just the same as you and me. Not getting any special perks or making any special money. You're a lying piece of shit. You're getting way more than most people get. And if you're like a lot of these assholes now, and you got to remember when the average is 10, a lot more people serve longer than that. The average actual, and I wrote it down here somewhere, the average actual retirement benefit based on what they're making right now for retiring senators and congressmen, representatives, senators, is going to be about $66,000 or $68,000 a year to $85,000 a year. That's the average it's going to be for people retiring that are in there now. So tell me once again how that's like $9,000 for me and you, $17,000 for government workers who already get pretty cushy benefits, So tell me how that's the same. I know you made your little video like, I'm just like you and me. We don't get special benefits. Yeah, you do. Like I said, most people who start driving a cab don't start with 10 grand in the bank and leave with 10 million in the bank. Most people who start a construction job or even a government service job don't start with $8 in their checking account and leave with 18 million. You're not like us. You do take advantage. You do get rich. You do get a pension just for serving, if you're a senator, 1 term. If you're a congressman, you got to get elected a couple times, but the vast majority of you do. So try to pretend like you're all not sucking money out of the system and it's not a sweet gig and you don't get more money than other people do is dishonest. Now, if I the things I said wrong in my first video, that'd be dishonest too, but I'm here correcting it. Because like I said, I got into a rant, went off on the topic that I didn't even mean to talk about the fucking pensions all that much. I meant to talk about how Dan Crenshaw's a lying asshole who's supporting things like red flag laws, suspending due process, the TAPS Act, which the TAPS Act is just like the modern United States Gestapo. In case you don't know, I suggest you look that up and see what he's supporting there. So the whole thing about the pensions just was what set me off that day about what a fucking liar he is. Because it's just watching him walk down that hallway, that smug tone, like, yeah, we're just like every other working Joe, and we don't get more than you do, and we don't make big money, but bullshit. I wish I could work for 5 to 10 years doing nothing, and then when I retire, get an extra 25 grand a year. Or 50 grand a year, depending on how long you're there, plus get rich while I was doing it. So that whole smug attitude of, well, we're just like everybody else and we got no reason to lie to you. You're such a fucking liar. You're a manipulator. And that's why I don't like you. Because people like you are the ones that make people like the people who watch my channel, pro-gun people, think that they can trust you Oh, he's for us. When you're not. You're a lying sack of shit. You'll lie about anything. You'll mislead people about how much money ex-politicians suck out of our system and how they are corrupt and how they get rich while they're there. How come when you didn't finish off your little sentence there when you said, we're just like all other government workers? That was a lie. No, you're not. Why didn't you say, yeah, if we work 5 years, we make twice as much as they do if they work 20? Why didn't you say that? Or, yeah, if we work 5 years, we make 3 times what, the average American makes just for working 5 years if they work 20. That's not the same. You're trying to make people think one thing when something else is true. Now, I may have seemed like I was trying to make people think one thing that wasn't true, but that's out of pure ignorance, not out of misleading anyone. Just me being stupid and ranting. And like I said, for all the people who were calling me out, at first I was like, I didn't understand what they were calling me out about. Like, they don't get vested in blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, no, that you read this. And then it takes a while sometimes for stuff to sink in here, but it sunk in. I'm like, oh, I see what they're saying. I'm saying that they're making a whole $140,000 a year, which I think I actually might have said that more than once. That's not true. They make way more than that, actually, because the millions they make while they're in office comes out to more than $100,000 a year for the rest of their life. Because I remember, most of them don't even come out of office till they're like, look at some of those motherfuckers, Mitch McConnell and them. How old is he? Like 108? You don't get this thing, when you're young, that turkey neck thing he's got. So most of them get their full salary till the fucking day they die nowadays, I think, until they retire like a year before they die or before they get arrested for, sexual assault or something. But that's my video today. To clarify my earlier video, to rectify the things I said wrong, or the things I said wrong and the things I said misleadingly and the things I just said in a really bad way. So all 3 of those types of things. And to make my point that Dan Crenshaw, because like I said, the pension thing was just what set me off on him. I don't really give as much fuck about the pensions as I do the lying about red flag laws and the TAPS Act. So my whole point of the video, Dan Crenshaw is an asshole and he's a liar. The pension thing is just an example of how he lies. The TAPS Act and the red flag laws are an example of how he's not a patriot. A lot of people thought, well, he's a patriot. He's an ex-SEAL. He'll have honor and he'll have, he'll be distinguished and he'll be a different kind of politician. Bullshit. He's just like all the fucking rest of them. And now I'm getting ranty again and I'm going to start saying stuff that's wrong because I'm not thinking. Because believe it or not, this gets going faster than this does quite often. And I don't mind being called out about it. If you call me out about it, I might even tell you you're stupid at first. But then I might be like, oh, no, wait, they're not stupid. I'm stupid. But, nothing wrong with being stupid. Stupid people are usually the happiest people because we live in our own stupid little world. But that's what I wanted to do today. And I think that's what I've done. So I'll talk to y'all later.